Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from dcx, and we are back with another Take Action Tuesday. We've taken a couple of months off, and we are back. I'm very excited to share today's show with you. It's been a long time coming, something I've been working on all year, and I'm hoping you're excited too, because I know there are a lot of questions about AI in UX research and whether we should use it at all. And if we have to use it, how do we use it? Do we want to use it? There's lots of questions. So today's show is going to have kind of two parts to it. So it could run a little long. Feel free, if you're watching this later, to turn up the speed. First, I'm going to read a medium-sized article I wrote about this conundrum. And then I'm going to show you how I use Claude for UX research, analysis, synthesis, and reporting. That doesn't mean you have to do exactly what I'm doing, but if you are curious about AI, or if you are under pressure from work to use it, this might be something that helps. As we go, I want to take your questions. If you're joining live, if you have a question, put it in the chat. It will pop up here on the screen. I'll see it in the chat. So please ask questions. This is not just a one-way webinar. If you're watching this live, I want to get your questions live. You're welcome to disagree. You're welcome to challenge me. Let's talk about it. So I'm going to start with the article that I wrote that you can find on our Medium publication, which is called R Before D. You can find it at rbeford.com. And I'm going to, oh, hello, Diana. I'm going to read this out loud, and then once we get through it and any questions that you might have, I will switch over to Claude, and we will actually do something completely live that I have no idea how it will go, but hashtag live stream. Hi, Amy. Okay, so this is my article from July 2025. I'm talking to you now 14th of October 2025, and this article is called AI, Incompetent If You Use It, Loser Dinosaur If You Don't. Isn't it amazing that some people say if you don't use AI, you're an ancient dinosaur, you'll get yourself fired for not using modern tools, and maybe you deserve to lose your job? And then I have a screenshot from someone who I later blocked, who had actually written in a comment to someone else, quote, "Really excited for an AI expert to take your job, smiley face." The smiley face doesn't really soften that sentiment. And some say that if you use AI, you must be a loser, bad at your job, awful at it, and go find another job. Either way, oh, hi, Lucid. Either way, you don't seem to deserve a job you are obviously bad at. And then I have a screenshot from me fighting with some dude on LinkedIn who I later blocked. He was saying anybody using AI in UX research should, hi, Ana Lucia. No, he didn't say that. Anybody using AI in UX research should look for a new job, because if you think AI improves research synthesis, you were clearly always shit at synthesis. Clearly always shit at synthesis. How did I ever get a job? Random LinkedIn man later told me that he knows I must be bad at my job because LLMs can't draw conclusions well or find themes, can't see any nuance, and are as bad at summarizing things as a third grader, which we'll put to the test today. Sounds like somebody hasn't used Claude Sonnet 3.7 lately. Hashtag not sponsored. LinkedIn man's claims don't match my experience, but I try not to debate people who aren't open to new information or changing their minds. But why didn't he ask me some questions about my experiences? Is this UX leader not curious? Why make incorrect assumptions, choose the worst conclusions, and then shit on me for his bad invented assumptions? I'm living an interesting reality that he should have asked me about, but he didn't. He went straight for no true Scotsman, ad hominem, straw man fallacy, hasty generalization, and what I like to call shitty syllogism, and certainly lacked curiosity and empathy. And that's fine. I wish him well. Let's get back to the main topic, which is that we're evidently all losers who don't deserve jobs because we adopted AI, and simultaneously because we didn't adopt AI at all or enough. We just can't stop shitting on each other and gaslighting each other, usually while preaching empathy. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. And we do this to each other all day long, mostly on LinkedIn and probably on networks I don't visit. We certainly don't treat each other this way in my Discord community. Free to join. dcx.to/Discord. Come on over. Time to take a really good look at who UX has become. Are you telling people it's their fault they lost their job, or you hope they lose their job to people using more AI? Or are you telling people that if they use AI, they're bad at what they do, that they have no talent or skill and can't do the work or think for themselves? In this angry binary, tell everybody they're getting it wrong universe, I'll be the gray area. I'm the outlier, the weird end of the bell curve, or I'm not on the bell curve because I'm so weird. I didn't adopt design thinking, and I got to hear all day long that I was a dinosaur who didn't believe in modern methods. I was going to cause my own layoff. Nobody was going to hire me, and clearly I don't like any sort of process change or improvement. That's what I heard, and yet I stayed mostly employed. Where I wasn't employed, it was not because I did proper human-centered design instead of design thinking, or design sprints, or lean UX, or anything recommended by Teresa Torres. I refused to democratize, aka dilute, UX research or design, but people seemed to take great joy in talking shit and gaslighting me that if I didn't adopt these methods, I was a multidimensional loser. Side note that time has proven me right on these, but that didn't matter then or now. And I was slow to adopt AI. I wanted to make sure that it was highly accurate and saving me time. I didn't add it to my work process until that was true, which was early 2025. I spent a lot of time testing it, testing what it did well or poorly, and refining a process. Now Claude is part of my analysis, synthesis, and reporting phase of research work. And evidently now I'm some sort of loser who can't do her job herself, has no talent or skill, and should leave the industry because I'm so incompetent. I guess forgetting the decades in which I wasn't using AI. Hey, you can think that about me, and I might not be able to change your mind. But how do you know that's true? And if it's not true, what are you doing and why? Why do we run so quickly towards trying to personally discredit or emotionally hurt others? Meanwhile, I'm getting more done without sacrificing quality. Anyone who knows me for more than 3 seconds knows that I wouldn't do anything unless it produces high-quality outputs and outcomes. We're under pressure to complete more research work while delivering value and insights that are so compelling that people naturally recognize their value, without having to present another value of UX PowerPoint that nobody wants. And I'm delivering that value faster than I used to. Claude's imperfect. I have to babysit it. But it's a good thought partner when you use it as a thought partner, not as a thought replacement. I didn't ask it to think for me. I don't copy-paste what it gives me without checking it, rewriting it, removing things, adding things, etc. I have a process and ways for checking for quality. I want to deliver the same level of quality that I always have, just faster. This is working for me. When it's not, I'll stop doing it and go back to the way I did it from 2011 to 2024. My work is still mostly manual. I write the plan and guide. I contact the participants. I moderate the sessions and do the observations. And then I get some Claude help for faster analysis, synthesis, and reporting. I'm starting with great questions, expert-run sessions, and expert detective-level observations, all done by human me. I refuse to sacrifice quality by using AI for anything that would end up with garbage in. The insights aren't deep enough? Add them. The LLM missed something it couldn't see? Add it. Claude's way better than it used to be. It's saving me time. If it misses something or gets it wrong, I can use the skills and knowledge I have to fix that. What are we afraid of? People who treat each other like this are usually badly afraid of something, or they have something to hide, so they point fingers at others, hoping nobody will look at them, a classic example of psychological projection. What are you afraid of? And is it improved or resolved if you try to make me look bad for adopting or not adopting a certain technique or tool? Do you feel better after talking all that shit? I still believe, and I know, that UX research should be done by humans, planned by humans, executed by humans. But we're lucky in 2025 that we have some tools that are good at data analysis, summaries, and finding some of the nuance. We also have tools that are terrible at this, despite what's been invested in them and despite some of the public worshiping of these tools. It's about keeping our critical thinking hats on in trying to use these tools and discussing these tools. If the tool helps you, use it. If the tool makes your work worse, slows you down, etc., don't use it. I was a later adopter of AI and LLMs. They could barely summarize the cat in the hat for a while there. People had 8 fingers on each forehead, and ChatGPT spent years telling me the word rain doesn't appear in Brahms' Requiem, even in German. But they're evolving fast. Workplaces expect us to be fast first and good second, unfortunately. I'm great, and now I'm faster. You can shit on me all you want. You can hope that I lose my job if that makes you feel like a better person. You can hope that I lose my job. You can tell me I was never any good at my job, even though you've never seen my work, if that makes you feel like a better person. But are we better people yet? Spend some time in the mirror. Make sure you are not one of these types of people. I'm tired of everybody insulting and gaslighting each other out of elitism, superiority, or fear. Get some self-awareness and stop shitting on each other. The end. Okay, so now we're going to talk about using AI in UX research, qualitative. Today I'm going to be talking about generative, but I have used it for evaluative as well. I've got some notes I'm referring to, so I just want to start with, can AI teach me UX research? No, I don't recommend that. If you would like to learn more UX research, find someone who will teach it to you. I teach it to people. You are welcome to connect with me. Go to dcx.to. But in general, please don't try to learn research from AI. I still find that it doesn't write questions very well because of what it's trained on. Remember again that AI is a thought partner. It's not a crutch. It's not going to do the work well without your careful involvement. You will need to babysit it and double check it. You will need to read everything it does, and I suggest reading it out loud to make sure it's true and clearly stated and not hallucinated or generic business advice. So please don't copy paste from AI without taking extra steps to check it. And please don't use any AI tool that compromises the quality of your outputs or outcomes. We always need to show our value, and if our reports are sloppy or miss important insights or suggestions, we could be perceived as delivering less value. So, quality, quality, quality. Or what are we doing? So how much time can you save? Traditionally, when we do qualitative analysis and research, synthesis and reporting, that can sometimes take people days and sometimes weeks. I am now getting this done in a half a day to a full day. So I'm definitely spending hours on this. This is not a 10-minute thing. It will be the short version today for the purpose of this show, but you'll be able to see how I approach it, and you will be able to see how I go through cycles and cycles and cycles and end up spending many hours on it, but not the weeks that I used to spend. So for me, I am skipping affinity diagramming or sticky notes. I am skipping rereading transcripts and rewatching videos. But if you've worked with me for some years, even before AI, I was skipping a lot of that anyway and working mostly from my memory and my notes. So skipping that stuff is not new to me, including Claude is. Some people refuse to skip that stuff. Totally fine. You do you. I'm trying to see how much quality I can produce in a lot less time. Now, you might think, hey, if Deb likes AI so much, can't it do other research tasks? I would still say no. I've found AI to be poor at writing research plans and writing questions because think about whose research plans and questions are mostly out there on the internet that it would have trained from. You and I are not publishing these things. A lot of it comes from product managers and non-researchers who are writing articles about how they've done research, and in many cases, not always, the research was not good, and that's what AI trained on. So I would not want it to write my questions for me. We tried that in a stream in January, and we'll do it again in January again, and we found the questions were not strong. If you would like AI to do your recruiting, scheduling, sending out communications, or paying people, you would probably want to implement my patent on that. You can learn more at dcx.to/patent. I don't want AI to interview people. I still want humans to run and moderate those sessions. If you think you don't want to be interviewed by AI for a job, we don't want AI interviewing people for research. So AI is still currently, when I'm talking to you, best at data. And that's what we're going to use it for today. So what will you need to start? Well, you want to make sure that you have the approval for your company or client to use AI. Some of them allow only certain AI tools to be used because they have licenses or they have vetted them. So make sure you're using what's approved. Check that you've set that AI to not train on your documents or your chat. So what you'll see today is I've got a paid version of Claude, and in my settings, I have turned off training on my stuff. You also want to be familiar with whatever tool you're using, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, or something else, to make sure you understand the different models it offers and which ones will be best for you. As we're talking, the newest Claude Sonnet is 4.5. I'm going to use 3.7 today. I find it's still quite strong, and I'll be less likely to run out of chat length as fast because it's an older model, which I have access to as a paid user. I'm also going to be using Claude projects. I know ChatGPT does projects, and that can be good as a container for your study. If you sometimes paste notes and transcripts and screenshots right into the chat, it can make you run out of chat space faster because you are utilizing more resources, usually called tokens. And so I'm using projects where I can put documents in kind of a central project place, and the chats I create will all refer to those documents. So make sure you get to know projects or however your AI tool does it. You'll want to have all of your artifacts ready to upload. These could be transcripts, screenshots. I tried uploading my notes, and I found that it got a little confused about were my notes things it could take quotes from? No. And so I don't upload my notes at this point. I will upload transcripts and sometimes my discussion guides, so we can learn what was I trying to research and what were the goals and what questions did I ask. And so sometimes I will upload that as well, because I'd like to give Claude, my AI tool, you might use a different one, as much context as possible. The more context it has, the more successful it's likely to be. And then, of course, work with your team to see how they want to report. Do they like slides? Do they like a formal report? Do they just want some bullet points about what did you learn, insights, suggestions, etc.? So make sure you're working with your team to deliver the report they need and not just whatever you get out of the AI. So what about observational studies? In 2025, AI tools still can't observe people. They can't pick up well on tones of voice, body language, facial expressions. You can get a transcript, but if you are watching people do a task or move around an interface, that's going to be harder for AI to work with because it's missing all of the visual, auditory, and other cues. Like I remember I use Malika says, I love Claude 4.5. I like it too. Today I'm going to use 3.7 just so we don't run out of chat rooms so fast. But I also upload my life coaching sessions that I do. If you'd like life coaching, go to dcx.to. And my clients know that I'm using Claude to summarize our session and give them notes. And I found that sometimes Claude would say to me, it sounds like you didn't really hold enough silence for this client, because that's one of the things we're supposed to do in life coaching is shut up and listen. And I said, actually, you have no sense of how long I wasn't talking. And then it would be like, oh yeah. So we have to remember that there's a lot of cues Claude can miss in something that might be more observational. And now I also use transcripts with timestamps, and that helps Claude understand as well when I am holding that space. Another thing I'm doing when I've used Claude for research where that has been observational is I have, and I don't do a lot of this because it would disrupt the session, but in some places I will say, I notice you've moved the mouse to the right of the screen. What are you looking for? Or, I see you tried to click on upload files and it's not working in our prototype. What would you expect to happen? So I'm doing a little bit of play-by-play there. I'm doing a little bit of narrating what somebody tried to do that Claude can't see, and I may or may not remember later if I don't watch the video. So now I know that that note will appear in the transcript from me saying that. So, yeah, so that's something you can try, but again, you don't want to over narrate what people are doing. That would probably make them feel a little scrutinized. Remember that you can talk to an AI however you want. I tend to speak very casually. I use swear words, but then I make sure that it knows when we are putting together any artifact or report for our clients that it is not written casually, it is not full of swear words, and you'll just want to double check for that tone. Okay, so where do I start once I've uploaded everything to Claude? Usually I introduce it to the project, I give it some context, I tell it to make sure it reads all of the documents, don't skim them, read them thoroughly. I tell them what it'll find in the documents, that they're going to see transcripts of research conversations. I'm the researcher, my name is Debbie. So I'm the researcher, everybody else is a participant. And I always give it permission to ask me questions. You might notice when you go to an AI and you ask it for something, it just starts doing it. And it's not really set up to ask clarifying questions first unless you give it that permission. So normally I will say, before we do anything, read these documents, look at what's going on here, and ask me questions. And that's where I start. If your tool cannot make sense of what you've uploaded and asks you crappy questions, you have the wrong tool. At my most recent job, which sadly just ended, so I'm available if anybody is looking for me or something I can do, we tested Microsoft Copilot, and I uploaded some transcripts of 8 research sessions I did where we were walking people through what is your process so I could map out their process. And I uploaded these to Copilot and I said, okay, any questions? And Copilot said, did anyone tell you their process? Okay, you're fired. So make sure that we are using the right tool for the job. So let's take a look at, okay, you're still looking at my screen, you're looking at my article. I'm going to switch over to Claude and I've started setting something up here. Here we go. Let's refresh it. Okay, so this is a Claude project. I can give it a little bit of a introduction to the project in general. I can write instructions and I can upload files. These are actually some real research sessions that I conducted. I won't say when, but I went through them this weekend and I anonymized them. So I removed all of the participant names and I removed the name of the client. I did leave in some other names because that won't affect what we're talking about here, but this was generative research to learn about some processes that people do so that that the client could understand where things go wrong and how to make those processes better. Remember, as we talk, ask any questions you have, interrupt me, ask those questions, challenge me. That's what I want to hear. So again, these are the transcripts. You can upload the files. And this is what I told Claude about the project. I'm going to read it out loud just so you can hear it. Hi, we're analyzing and synthesizing interview transcripts for a research report. These were 5 generative interviews for an anonymized pharma company about vaccine returns and claims. Participants should be as anonymous as well, but third-party company names were left in: FedEx, Merck, Inmar, sometimes incorrectly transcribed as Enmar, but should be Inmar. I didn't bother fixing that. The pharma client plans to rethink their returns and claims process. They see it as a digital design project, but I know it's service design. A portal doesn't solve everything. Please make sure that you don't hallucinate anything or give me generic business advice. Everything must come from transcripts, and preferably not from me. I'm Debbie, the researcher you'll see in each transcript. Please use critical thinking. We are critical thinking partners. Please also consider upstream and downstream issues, given what participants said about their processes and where they go wrong. You and I can speak openly and honestly with each other. We'll make sure anything we report to the client is professional, crisp, and sounds fair. But chatting with each other, we can be blunt and real so that we can get to the root causes, find powerful insights, and report them along with actionable suggestions. This time I am live streaming this to teach others my work with Claude techniques. So if you see the pharma client name or can guess it, don't say anything. Please just call them the pharma company. If you see anything personal or identifying about a participant, like their workplace name, just ignore it. We can just say what U.S. state they are in or the type of office they work for without revealing details. So I'm going to be working with Sonnet 3.7, and 4.5 is technically better, but we're going to give it a try. And I'm going to start with, hello and welcome to the project. Please read the instructions and then all 5 transcripts in full. Before we do anything else, please ask questions. All questions are welcome, and I want you to feel clear on what we're doing. Thanks. And now I don't have extended thinking turned on, so I can't see what Claude is thinking. It's just going to respond to us. So right now it's just going through the project. It's looking through the files that I uploaded. It's trying to get more information. And let's see. So it's asking me about research goals. I did not upload that. It had client names and other stuff that were going to be hard to anonymize here. So let's answer Claude. The main goals were to understand customers' processes and experiences with both returns and claims, which are different things, so that the client can consider how to improve these. For the analysis, are you looking for specific themes or pain points in the current claims? And for the analysis, I'm looking for everything that will help our client understand users, tasks, realities, pain points, root causes, etc. Would you prefer I start with a high-level summary of key findings, or would you prefer I organize the insights by specific process steps, claims process versus returns process? Here's now where we need to stop and make a decision about how we want to approach this. So we spoke to people about both processes, but the processes were different. The claims were when they got a package damaged or the package never showed up, and that was a claim. The return was where at the end of, say, a flu season, a doctor's office might have vaccines left over and they are allowed to return them to the pharmaceutical company for a partial credit. So just to keep things narrow for our stream, let's just talk about the claims process. Since I am using this to teach others how we work together, let's just focus on claims right now. And we can start by mapping key steps of the process, what works and what has room for improvement. And its last question was, are there any specific aspects of upstream or downstream you want to focus on in particular? Nothing in particular, but let's notice when the participant refers to collaborators who are part of the process, they are important to consider. Any other questions? So I always give it permission to ask more questions, and that way we don't run into, because a lot of AIs just want to make you happy and they're going to jump right in and start doing tactical stuff. Before I begin, quick question. When you say claims, there are instances where something went wrong with vaccines as opposed to returns, just confirming we're on the same page about terminology. So you can see it's already read through the transcript and it sees that these are two different processes. Yes, these are two different processes. We'll only focus on claims for now, including the reasons you mentioned. We'll ignore returns for now, just to keep our focus in one process at a time. Any other questions? Okay, so Claude says, I feel ready to go. Let's take a look at what's going on. Based on the interview transcripts, here's the typical claims process flow. The trigger event. The package arrives with issues, or the package doesn't arrive, as I remember from running these. The package took too long to arrive. The temperature tag indicates exposure to unsafe temperatures. The package is damaged, or there's a natural disaster covering inventory loss. This is true. This matches my memory of the trigger events that people tended to say were the reasons they had to file a claim. Initial response. Okay, what do we do? If they have the package, they usually have to now quarantine those vaccines so that the doctors don't use them because they've probably gone bad, especially since some of my participants were in Florida. The packages were out in the Florida sun for hours. Do not use. But they still have to be stored, and so typically they would put them in a refrigerator or freezer, but they would have to label them do not use. So I would say Claude is also correct here based on my memory of the 5 people I spoke to and the process they described. So I am checking things against my own memory because I was there. If you're not sure, check it against your notes. Double check everything Claude does. What happens next? Somebody has to contact usually the pharma company to say, hey, the package never came, or it arrived damaged, or the temperature sensor inside of the box says I shouldn't use these vaccines. Now you know. So some of them called their rep. They were old school. They made a phone call. Others called the customer service line and not their sales rep. Some people talked about contacting FedEx, first thinking maybe this is something I can resolve with FedEx, which was the usual shipping company. Sometimes it was UPS, before dealing with the pharmaceutical company. Is this making sense so far? Any questions? But so far, I would say Claude is correct in summarizing and bringing together. Remember, analysis is breaking things apart. Synthesis is bringing them back together with new patterns. And I would say so far, Claude is correct in summarizing what I heard from 5 different people. Claim processing. Okay, so the pharmaceutical company is now aware of the package problems, and customer service or the rep now collects information about it. So here Claude said customer service. It might also be the rep, so that's probably something I would fix. Customer service issues a return authorization and a shipping label. Some participants need to send photos as evidence. For natural disasters, there might even be a different claims form. Now what happens? Now that the claim is in the system, these people have to pack these things back up and ship them back, sometimes to the pharmaceutical company and sometimes to a third party called Inmar. So pack it up, apply the return authorization label and shipping label, and the label is most of the time this was going to Inmar, but not always, I think. Ship package to Inmar, some drop it off, others have regular pickups, and there were more details here that I notice are missing, and I just have to decide if they're important for the report that my client is expecting. For example, is it important that these people pack it up themselves versus having someone in the office do it? Is it important that these people told me they hoard boxes because they have to send back so much stuff and they don't always have boxes, and so they've become box hoarders? These might be important things that I want to add, and I'll show you how I do that once we take a look at this. So Claude's really gone there. They've gone for what works well. They've really gone there. So this would be a lot of stuff for me to deal with. I might have asked it to say, hey, slow down. Let's just start with the process steps and let's make those better before we look at the other things, because that might affect what we say in other parts of the report. So then what happens? Wait for credit to appear in the account, which Claude did not mention how long that takes. That was a definite problem, so we'll want to put that in. Periodically check up the platform for the credit. No clear notification when the credit is issued. So a lot of people were awaiting a credit for weeks or months. They had no idea when they got it, and that timing varies. Amy says, this is great. I'm going to try this. I have an enterprise version of Claude that I can use. Great. Yeah. And I've got a half hour more stuff to show you. We're going to keep going with this. Melanie says, something I've been doing is asking Claude to cite direct quotes in the transcript. Absolutely. And usually Claude will do that. So notice here it is. Pain points, room for improvement, P3. I was routed to the Canada division on one of the calls, and I was routed to another division incorrectly on another call, P2. I just didn't get to the right person until the 5th time transferred or 20th time transferred. So you can see that even without me asking for the quotes, I am getting quotes, but I can ask for quotes, as Melanie pointed out. But first, let's clean up a little bit of what's going on. And I'm also going to use some Claude features here. Let's see how I do. Okay, this is a great start. I want to start by really focusing on the first part of what you wrote, the steps. I'll look at the other parts later. Can you please make a text document artifact, and we'll use string replace to continuously update and improve it as we work together as thought partners. While you're doing that, I wanted you to please add to the process some of those pain points. I'm worried that listing the process without them will make the pain points feel less contextual. Let's work pain points into the process, maybe as sub bullets. Thanks. So let's see what it does now. It should create an artifact for us. Here it is. This is an artifact. .md is markdown. So that means if you copy and paste it into something else, it'll understand some of the bolding and the bullet points. Like it's just got simple, very simple HTML in there. Melanie says, if your transcript has timestamps, you can ask it for the exact place in the transcript where the quote comes from. Yes, I do have timestamps in my transcript, so we could do that. So right now, I'm going to let Claude write this document, and it says, let's move it to the, okay, so I should be able to click on this. Here it is. So this is my new document, and because I've asked Claude to use string replace, and that is a Claude term, I don't know what ChatGPT calls it. It means when I ask Claude to add to this document, remove from this document, make changes to the document, it won't write a new document each time. It will string replace. It will go into this document and literally make the edits, and then usually it'll version it, but that's optional. Okay, so here's the trigger event, and now you can see shipping delays and temperature excursions are common triggers creating downstream work. P1 mentioned significant increase in issues after hurricanes in October. So again, we might say, is that relevant? Ooh, do I want to say it differently? This is your choice. When I'm done with all of this, so quick future moment. Once I do all of this work with Claude, I don't copy and paste it to the client. I copy and paste it into Notepad or Word or Confluence or somewhere where I can just work on it in a vacuum. And I edit the hell out of it. I rewrite stuff. I make it sound more like me. I reorder stuff sometimes. And then what I do is I copy and paste it back into Claude and I say, now here's my version of that. What do you notice and what can I do better? And again, that's why it is a partnership. I'm challenging it, it's challenging me, and we keep trying to make something that is better and ready to give to the client. That's why I spend hours on this. I'm not just going to take this and paste it to the client and go, done, wrote my report, thank you, Claude. Some people are doing that, and I'm hearing it doesn't go very well. So there you go. So now we have, and again, I might say, I don't want all caps, or that's something I can just change manually later. Sorry about the dogs barking in the background. It's exciting dog universe. Staff must physically handle and segregate compromised product, storage space dedicated to quarantine vaccines. That was an important point. People are like, great, now I got all this crap in my freezer or fridge. It's product I can't even use, and I'm worried that someone will miss all of the quarantine labels I put on it and accidentally use it. You know, that's a tough pain point. Pre-contact tracking. So sometimes, notice Claude just picked up on that now because it's now combining some of the early steps with the pain points and realized there was a step it missed before, which was sometimes even before they are contacting their rep or customer service, they're making a note in their own internal systems, or they are doing a lot of package tracking to try to make sure they don't miss the package coming. One person I remember told me that no matter what they tell FedEx and UPS, they love to deliver packages when the doctor's office is closed for lunch. It's Florida. The vaccines sit out in the sun. Not good. Thank you, Amy. I'm so happy you're enjoying this. Contact initiation. Okay, so inconsistent starting point. So this is where the process branches. People were doing different things at this point. That's really important to know. If you are doing a visual map of this in Miro or FigJam or whatever, this is where you would branch it off. And the rep availability varies. Notice that's something Claude probably had down in the pain points and now brought up. We didn't even have a rep. We were in limbo. Reps in general used to do more hand holding. Now they just say, you have a problem. Here's the phone number you call. So what's going on there? Do we want to say more about that? Does that say it all? Up to you. You decide. Customer service interaction. So how do I feel about what I'm seeing right now? I like it. I like that we're getting the steps of the process with the distinct pain points and some quotes from people. So it really brings it to life about there isn't really a dedicated claims department. You have to call customer service. Hope you get someone who knows what they're doing. Hope you're not routed all over the place. This was really important. And this was really important for my project because without giving away too much about what this project was, the client thought that a new portal would fix all the problems. And you can make a nice portal all day long, but as you can see, this is a service design issue. There are so many touch points and moments and interactions and experiences that are going way wrong here. And a better portal or a new portal might not fix them. Sure, a new portal might be nice. I'm not saying don't build a new portal, but I will say fix all your other problems too. Because if you are watching what's going on here, and it's in my head, but you're just learning it, then you'll really get the distinct feeling that you have problems with shipping companies. You have problems with your own staff and their training. You have problems with reps. You have problems with, like, there's a lot of problems here where a portal doesn't really fix everything. Amy, we should hop on the co-working channel in Discord and compare notes. Yes, everybody, please remember that in our Discord channel, we have kind of what Discord calls voice channels, which means you can get into a conversation or a video call with other people. It's totally free. We've got rooms set up. I think they're called Honeycomb. Let me check. They are, and they're open to you 24 hours a day. If you want to co-work with people or chat or hang out, we've got, Honeycomb 1 and 2. And so we've got 2 different rooms if people want to hang out and work on stuff together, or just be around humans if you're working remotely. What about a replacement order? Oh, this was so important. People were like, hey, I ordered the vaccines because I need the vaccines. When are you going to get me a replacement? Do you have to wait to get this back? I hope not. I have patients coming in to get vaccinated. Note that these conversations were at the very beginning of 2025 in America. Do I have to wait for my credit? I don't want to wait for my credit. Ana Lucia says, I'm still only using Claude for, something popped up, for optimizing stuff for my job search. I'm using the free version. It's slow. Yeah, it's one of the downsides of the free version is that you'll only get Claude 4.5 and you'll be very limited to how much you can use it. You can go into your account. There's now a usage screen in your account where you can see how much more Claude you can use before you're going to hit a limit for the block of time, usually 5 hours or the week. By the way, I tested this type of thing at my last job in ChatGPT, and ChatGPT did a good job. Now, I don't like OpenAI and I don't trust them, but it could work for you as well if you're a ChatGPT fan. So yes, the replacement order was really important because who's arranging it? Is my rep arranging it? Do I have to arrange it? Who's putting in this order? When am I going to get it? There were so many questions there that a portal may or may not answer. Now, preparing the returns. Good job, Claude. So I said this to you, Claude picked it up. I find that these systems are getting much better at nuance and outliers, that they don't just say, well, most people wanted to do this. They notice these things, and you can remind them if you feel like it's not doing a good job. But P1 has to hoard boxes. A lot of these people had to pack these things up themselves. Some of them had to drive to the FedEx store, the UPS store, or the pack and ship type place to get it out the door. And now shipping to Inmar. Some of them said, I have to pay for shipping myself because you won't give me a prepaid return label. That's terrible. It's not their fault that this is going bad. And again, is that fixed by a portal? In my opinion, no. So again, that's why Claude having some of that context could help, because ultimately when I get to the part of this report where I want to make recommendations to the client, these recommendations are going to go far beyond what an online portal should or shouldn't do. Because to me, no matter what my client says, this is service design. This is how do we make claims and returns better for people in digital and non-digital ways. Deanna says, I use both. Sometimes double check what the other did. Ana Lucia says, I'm enjoying the project feature a lot. I have 2 accounts to be able to use them. In one of them, I'm trying to keep my health in check. I'll be talking about that in 2 weeks. So join me for how I'm using Claude to lose weight. Did anybody notice I lost a little weight? Yes, applause for myself. And that's how I found out my actual diagnosis when the doctor couldn't. And in my other, I'm doing my job stuff with LinkedIn. Yes. The black hole period. And again, this is a little bit casually written. If you have a good relationship with your client or workplace, you could write something like that. Or you can say to Claude, hey, that's a little bit too casual. I don't want to say the black hole period, even though I agree with you. Can we please call it no visibility into the process? Just as an example. So just as an example, let me show you how I would ask Claude to change that. Looking good so far. Can we please change the black hole period to no visibility or updates during the process, just to be less casual, thanks. Now we should see Claude rewrite that because I've asked it for string replace, but let's see what it does. Okay, then we'll see this refresh. There it is. So that is sorry about all the dogs barking in the background. That is the magic, Olivia. That is the magic of string replace. Sometimes Claude does it automatically. I learned accidentally in a recent chat what it calls that, str_replace. So I will tell it, I specifically want a document we can keep updating together so that it's a living document, because I did have a chat where Claude kept trying to write new documents every time I asked for something, and it was burning through my usage really badly. How did I ask it for string replace? You just ask it. You know what? Let's ask Claude this, just for fun. I'm live streaming this right now to teach others how to do this. What's the best way to ask you to make a living text document and use string replace? Request a text document artifact, which I did. Be specific about the format of the content. It could be Markdown. So Markdown has usually a little bit of HTML. Like if I paste this into Confluence or Word, I usually get headers. Indicate your intention to collaboratively edit. We'll use this as a living document. Please update the document by replacing whatever with whatever. But notice I did use the term string replace. So it's written this long thing, but if you roll it back, I actually wrote something much shorter. I just said, let's find it. Here it was. It was after this. I said, can you please make a text document artifact, and we'll use string replace to continuously update and improve it as we work together as thought partners. So similar to what Claude just suggested you say, though I made it much shorter and it got it. I was doing the same, having it rewrite docs. Yes, and I burned through my entire week usage of Claude about a week or two ago because it kept rewriting hundreds of lines every time. So do yourself a favor. Ask for a text document with string replace. That is the best way to go. And you also saw I used copy and paste to say, can you please change this to this? Or I could ask it, gee, I think we've been a little bit too casual in some places like black hole. Can we please make it less casual? But then you're leaving it up to Claude to guess where you mean and what you want to do. So always best to be specific if you have a specific change. So credit monitoring, that was another problem. When are people going to get their credits? They were expected to monitor it themselves. The client thought the portal would help them there. Credit application, key collaborators in the process, reps, customer service, Inmar, shipping companies, providers, and insurance companies. So that's got a lot of good stuff going on in it. And I can say, okay, we're going to run late today, everybody. I hope that's okay. By the way, for those of you joining live, is there anything you would like me to ask Claude about the transcripts? Or in analyzing and synthesizing the research? Is there something you would like to see if Claude can do or can tell us from there? Another thing that I remember doing in this project was the client had given us a template for the report. They liked their slides a certain way, and I showed Claude those slides, and I said, this is the format we're going to be delivering this in, so help me get ready to use that format so that some of this stuff will copy and paste a little bit more naturally. So let's see what Claude says when I tell it, let's write a section about suggestions for the client. Let's jump back into the artifact. Can you please add a section with actionable suggestions for our, I'm spelling everything wrong, for our pharma company client on how they can improve the claims process. Please note that the client thinks they mostly need a new portal with better claim reporting and tracking. Sure, why not? But this is a service design issue. I want to make sure we detail how the best solution is to never have the problem. What can we do about shipping companies? Return shipping, etc. Questions? Remember, a lot of times Claude will not ask you a question if you don't prompt it to. It's a lot of these systems are designed to use engagement questions where at the end of something it'll ask you something to keep you talking, but it won't always say, yeah, I don't understand something here. It won't always ask clarifying questions, so I like to give it the power to pause and do that. Or sometimes I will specifically say to it, before you do anything, tell me if you have any clarifying questions. Because now it's already writing stuff, and we might learn later it got a bunch of stuff wrong. But let's see what they're saying. I've updated the document with a comprehensive section on actionable suggestions. The new section emphasizes a service design approach rather than just a portal solution. Now remember, if I hadn't told Claude that, and I just told Claude, hey, this client is very excited about building a new portal, it's possible that Claude might have just said, yeah, a new portal would really help people in the following ways. So this is where the human comes in. I'm saying, think bigger. Think service design. Don't just think digital portal. Yes, I want to check about different report formats. Does Claude do well in that? Depends, Lucid. What types of formats do you want? Because I think currently Claude does not make slides, but I showed it the slides the client wanted, and I asked it to make things like that so I could copy and paste it into a slide. Claude can make charts and graphs, so it does some visual artifacts, but it is not making slides and things like that. High-level summary, details, conclusions. Yes, you absolutely can tell it to take that format. I've done that as well. Sometimes I'll say, okay, now circle back and write an executive summary. We can do that. So first, let's see what Claude says. Preventative measures, process improvements, digital improvements. I'm excited about that. That's what I want to tell the client. Let's see what Claude said. Actionable suggestions for improvement. Preventative measures. Stop problems before they start. That's my dream. As a strategic UX practitioner, I want the problems to never happen. I don't want to just put band-aids and workarounds on them, and I don't just want a portal that tells you someday you'll get a credit. Negotiate SLAs with shipping providers for more temperature monitoring. Okay, so I learned that the temperature monitoring did not have to do with the shipping provider. It actually had to do with the pharma company. So I would probably tell Claude to fix that. And that was something that came up in the conversations, that the pharma company, our client, had recently removed some of the temperature gauges from boxes to cut costs. And people were like, now I don't know if this is good or not. So I would probably ask Claude to clean this up, but we're running late today, so I'm not going to. But this is, again, where Claude challenges me, I challenge it, or I just take this later, copy and paste it into Word, Confluence, Notepad, and I clean it up, because I know that's not true. I learned from the research that the temperature monitoring comes from what the pharmaceutical company puts in the box and not from the shipping company. So I would clean that up. What about a shipping provider scorecard and shifting volume to better performers? That's an interesting idea. If you're giving shipments to FedEx and UPS and one of them is getting it wrong more often, that could get very interesting. I think that's an interesting idea. I might leave that. Establish direct escalation channels with shipping. Yeah, that's a question that I asked when Claude and I worked on this earlier this year, which was, this pharmaceutical company is probably a major client of FedEx and UPS. Why haven't they put something in place to have better service or better escalation? Inventory management improvements. Provide inventory management tools that predict usage. Okay, this is irrelevant, and I'd probably have Claude cut this. Sometimes Claude will give me generic business advice, like better inventory management tools. But I know from the conversations I had, nobody asked for that. So could inventory management tools predict usage? Not necessarily. People told me their usage was really quite random, other than, sure, flu season means flu vaccines and start of school means getting a lot of shots. But this was not true. So I would probably remove that for it not being true. Create flexible scheduling based on that. That's not inventory management. That should probably be something negotiated with the carrier. So again, I like some of the things Claude is saying. I might move them to different sections. That's when I do my editing pass. Some of the things here aren't true. I would take them out. P5 is experienced with Beyfortus, which is spelled incorrectly, I found out. That's the name of a drug, and the transcript wrote it wrong, and Claude is picking it up. We got a mystery shipment that showed up. Yeah, that was weird, but I don't know where I'll put that. Weather, process improvement, unified claims team. Right. Why isn't there a specially trained claims team? Streamlined return process. Why aren't they getting prepaid shipping? Why do they have to pay for it? What about improvements with the partner? End-to-end claims visibility, credit management, communication improvements. Oh, they made me a little table. This is cute. Portal only versus service design. Okay, that's not bad. If Claude imagines I need this to help convince the client that they need to do more than a portal, I didn't ask for that. It's cute. I may or may not keep it when I do my editing pass, but it's cool. One thing I ended up advising the client on, which isn't here, so again, you can ask Claude to add it, or you can just add it in your editing pass, was people thought returns should be and claims should be like Amazon. As soon as I ship the box back, I don't want to hear about it ever again. You have the box. I don't want to wait weeks for a credit. You have the box. Give me the credit immediately. I'm not sending you a box of rocks. So Claude missed that, but that's okay. That was something I thought of and I wanted to add. So again, human AI partnership. Claude's not going to get everything. I might not get everything, but I like what it's doing. Let's ask it to go to the top and add an executive summary. Can you please add an executive summary at the top with some high level, what did Lucid say? High level insights slash key takeaways and a few of the most key actionable suggestions. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to wait for that. We'll take a look at what else Lucid is asking for. This number here that you're looking at is how many lines it's adding. So it is writing dozens of lines, and it removed 5 lines. And then we'll see this will refresh. I don't have to click. I can click it, but it will refresh automatically. And once it's done refreshing, if it doesn't take me to the top of the page, I'll go to the top of the page. So let's see. Here we go. Executive summary. Our research with healthcare professionals who handle vaccine claims reveals significant pain points throughout the current process. While customers appreciate the reliability of replacement shipments, they struggle with an opaque, inconsistent, and labor-intensive claims process. Key insights. Claims are largely preventable. This was true. I love the way it's saying it. Process fragmentation creates work. Also true. The black hole effect damages trust. I like that. I have some good relationships with my clients. I might leave that. You might tell Claude, black hole, a little bit too on the nose, a little bit too judgmenty. Let's call it lack of visibility, damages trust. Totally up to you. It's about the vibe and personality of what you write and the relationship you have. Staff burden is significant. Absolutely. Digital solution is insufficient. Thank you, Claude, for starting to make the case for this is a service design issue and goes beyond what a portal will do. Most critical recommendations, thank you, prevent claims through improved shipping partnerships, create a unified claims team, integrate Inmar better, offer prepaid, hassle-free returns, proactive communication at every step. Okay. Hey, curveball that I'd like to add to the doc in the main area as well as the exec summary. Why can't this be like Amazon returns? The box goes out. Pharma company knows it was shipped and the customer just gets their credit. They don't really need to watch the process for weeks. Just give them their money and make this invisible. Thanks. Okay, so now we'll see how Claude takes. I love this curveball. You're absolutely right. Let's add this Amazon-like returns perspective to the executive summary in the main document. And again, I may or may not like how Claude writes this up, but that's why this is a thinking partnership. Claude is not our thought replacement. This is a thinking partnership. Again, there are things Claude has in here that are not true, that are not accurate. And when I do an editing pass, that those things are going to come out. So here we go. Highlights a proven solution. Amazon solved this. Challenges industry assumptions. Why does this have to be complicated? Proposes a paradigm shift. Eliminates the black hole. So let's see what we've got. The Amazon standard is the new expectation. Healthcare customers wonder why vaccine returns can't be as seamless as Amazon returns, where customers receive immediate credit once a return is scanned. Yeah, sorry we're running late, but I hope this is really helping people. Implement a credit on scan system. Yeah, as soon as the box goes back, just give people their money. And I'm sure if we go down here, we'll find somewhere else where Claude might have added this. Preventative measures, unified claims, streamlined returns. The Amazon returns model, immediate credit on shipment. So again, there might still be things that I would do when I will copy all of this. I will reorder stuff. I will remove things I disagree with. I will reword things that I think don't sound like me, or maybe we're too casual or need to be softened because we are giving people some bad news. We are telling the clients some things they don't want to hear. They know the process isn't good and they do want to fix it, but they didn't sound totally ready to accept this as service design and sounded more like, hey, go check our nice portal to see how many more weeks you have to wait for your credit. Is there anything else anybody wants to see Claude do with this? Because these are real transcripts and this is a real example. And while I wait for your questions, I'll just remind you that this is what I've been doing, and I will go over this and over this and over this in layers and layers, and then I will eventually pull it out of Claude, work on it myself, feed it back into Claude, and say, did I miss anything or did I get anything wrong based on what you have? So if we feel like we've got something great here, cool. We could add another section to this. What did people like about the current process? There's got to be some good news in here. There's got to be something that's going right in this process that people are happy with. So I could say, hey, before we get to, can you add a section at the end about, or maybe a section before the, here it is, the actionable suggestions. Can you please add a section? Here, let's try it. Can you please add a section before actionable suggestions that lists any areas of the process people like and maybe some quotes to back them up. Thanks. I can't spell. This is an example of what I'm doing, and hopefully people can see that this still requires human intervention. This still requires you to be good at research. If you are not good at research, you're not going to know how to wrangle Claude to do this, and you're not going to know how to go into this document and make it better before you either feed it back into Claude or before you give it to a client or an employer or a cross-functional team. So this is garbage in, garbage out. If I hadn't done good research sessions with wonderful participants, poor Claude would be struggling to find anything we could say here. It might end up making up more stuff. It might end up jumping to more conclusions. It might end up going into its training and giving generic business advice. So there's a lot that we need to make sure we are still doing as humans. This is just a great way to have a conversation with your data. So what do people like? They like that they got replacement shipments fast. Great. They liked that there was a way to do online return authorizations. Super. They liked that there were some good customer service people who were helpful to them. Super. And that the reps were sometimes helpful, especially during a disaster like a hurricane. Cool. And they liked that when they finally got the credit, they were able to apply it in different ways. So that just helps us make a much more balanced report where it's not all doom and gloom and it's not all the worst process in the world and you're getting everything wrong. There are some good things there. And now we've got some nice quotes about the helpful rep, the good customer support person, the things that went well. Any other questions that you would like to see me ask Claude, or any other questions you have for me about my process? Because again, the thing I really want to drive home is it's easy to say if you use AI in research, you're a loser, you're bad at research, you don't deserve a job. And I hope that when people see what we've been doing with Claude now in just 45 minutes or an hour, it's just a start. There's a lot more work for me to do here, especially if I have to end up with maps or diagrams or task analysis, or maybe I want Claude to write me problem statements. That's something I think more of us should do in our stuff. Oh, that is the wrong button. I just hit the wrong button. So that was a mess. I accidentally took it out of the project. And this needs to go into the UX research. Don't hit that button. I don't like that they added that one. Here we go. Okay. If you disconnect it from the project, it won't see your project documents. So that was a button I did not mean to hit. Slippery mouse, but at least you can fix your own mistake. Could you please write a simple set of traditionally worded problem statements? These should be from the perspectives of the customers, but also indicate the business value of addressing these problems. Thanks. Now again, this might be something your client doesn't want, won't read, nobody cares. I'm just showing you some of the things that you can ask Claude or your favorite AI to do that, again, you then have to double check, rewrite, pour through, partner with them on it, etc. Customer focused problems. Are they at the end? Where did they end up? Oh, it's still refreshing. Customer focused problem statements, business value problem statements. Oh, I thought they would kind of be together. Let's see where these ended up. Where did these end up? Oh, wait. Problem statements. Healthcare providers waste valuable time tracking and monitoring claims. There's no proactive notification system, causing them to repeatedly check for updates and diverting time from patient care. Healthcare providers experience financial uncertainty. So these were true. These were definitely things people talked about. Now, Claude made a separate set of business problem statements. I know that for my style of problem statements, I sometimes try to bring these together. For example, healthcare providers waste valuable time tracking and monitoring claims. Sucks for the customer for this reason. Sucks for our business for this reason. So I might ask it to use a different format. And that's fine because I didn't give it a format. I told it traditional problem statements, and it's not totally wrong here, but I might say, oh, my version of problem statements tries to bring together the customer need and the business value within one problem statement. So again, you might ask it to rewrite it based on wanting to explain this differently, or you might like this. You might say, cool, these are some important customer problems that the business can solve, and these are some other things that the business might want to fix because they might be having they might be losing money. They might be inefficient. They might, and some of these are a little bit jumping to conclusions. I might take them out. You could lose market share because your competitors had more friendly claims processes. That didn't come up in the conversations. And so sometimes I have to dial Claude back down if it invents too many things that didn't come from the conversations. I mean, sometimes our actionable suggestions might be some of our early concepts or ideas that don't come from the conversations, but I don't want to threaten them that they're going to lose market share because that really didn't come up. And in some cases, people said, I don't like your process, but it's better than others. And so this is an area, again, I would end up doing a giant copy and paste, or actually you don't have to. You can just say copy. I wouldn't download it as a PDF. That'll be hard to edit, but I will copy it for sure. And I'll usually paste it again into Notepad, Word, Confluence, and I will start rewriting this. And again, this is why a final report can take me a half a day to a whole day, because I am going to put a lot of time into this. I am going to read it out loud and ask myself, is that true? Does that come from the conversations? Or is Claude kind of making this up or going a bit too far? And this is an example of Claude going too far. Is it possible the company could lose market share over this? I guess, but it seems a little bit too inflammatory to say so. Again, I know we're running late. Let me know if you have any other questions you want to ask me about this technique or ask Claude. And while I wait for any final questions, just a reminder, next week we're going to be talking about something Claude and I built over the summer, which is a wacky little tool that you can try to see how likely your job is to be eaten by AI, how likely you are to lose your job to AI. It is not the most comforting topic, but I think it is something that we need to think about and be prepared for. So that will be that topic. And then the week after, our next Take Action Tuesday on October 28th, well, I will be showing you how I used Claude to lose weight. Claude is not my nutritionist. It is not my dietitian. It is not my doctor, but it is data I can talk to. And that helped me. So again, it does not replace medical professionals, and I'm not going to tell you to do that, but you can certainly track stuff. Okay, I am not seeing any other questions, so I will just flip back to a giant me and thank everybody for joining us today, either live or maybe watching this on YouTube later. I hope that you will subscribe to us on YouTube and on Twitch. Join our Discord. Our Discord is free and it's pretty active, and it's for wherever you are on your life path and your work path. People talk about personal things there, they talk about work things, and we welcome all of these conversations because we are whole people. Ana Lucia says, I used it for me because I have domain knowledge in healthcare to counter it if it makes up stuff. Right. And these things can make up stuff, and we do have to keep a critical eye on that. Okay, so I'm going to start playing our show-ending music. Thanks again to everybody for joining. I'm so happy we got to try this out. You are welcome to judge me and tell me I'm just a terrible researcher and I shouldn't do any research, but you know what? My clients sure were happy this year because they got great reports from me in record time. And I'm proud of that. And I don't believe that I've sacrificed quality. And who knows, maybe I've increased quality because Claude picked up on some things that I forgot. We check and balance each other. Thank you, Amy. Good luck trying it out. And again, see everybody in Discord and in future shows. Have a great one. Thank you, Deanna. Bye.